Greetings, my fellow film Simon thinkers. This is L3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mango, South Florida, and today's date is Monday, April 15, 2019. So, let us begin. Oh, folks, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, looks like I had a little compromising issues on my computer. I might do some cleaning for sure. But that's how it goes. Yeah, I'm at Collective, Cafe Collective, located in the heart of Fort Lauderdale, downtown Fort Lauderdale, in the building around Broward Boulevard and US 1, but it's on the east end, where it's actually located at Broward Boulevard and Northeast 7th Avenue in the beginning of Victoria Park District. Pretty cool little place. I like it. The little folks here doing their homework, doing a little studying and all that good stuff. Yeah, so I'm going to be mainly addressing a few things about Assange again. And I tried to do a show Friday, but the signal has been compromised big time, so I just had to scrap it. If you hear it on YouTube, don't even waste your time. So, without further ado, let's just talk about what's going on with Mr. Assange as we speak. And one of the areas we can really look at, of course, the WikiLeaks conspiracy computer hacking. I'm going to put that in the footnotes for sure, just to let you look at it. It's pretty weak, and there's a link for that as well from justice.gov on the charges. And it looks like the charges were filed against him around April, I think March of last year, to be exact. Was a lot of controversies on his being detained and possibly being extradited to the U.S. So I'm going to be talking about that. And interesting with the whole thing, what they want to do a doctorate paying homage to Al Sharpton, at the City University of New York. And then, of course, we're going to talk about democracy does not equal liberty. So let's begin right now with the whole political prisoner of Julian Assange. And we'll start off here by consortiumnews.com. It was written by Elizabeth Foss. Julian Assange's Nightmarish Future. And as it reads here, while Julian Assange waits for what comes next, a sentencing, skipping bail in England, and a U.S. extradition request, he's being held in a maximum security prison in London that has been called the UK's Guantanamo Bay. It has been used to detain alleged terrorists, sometimes indefinitely. The reputation of HM Prison Belmarsh raises natural concerns about the well-being of the WikiLeaks publisher there. While many prisoners at Belmarsh says it's difficult to see a doctor or a nurse, these services are available at the facility, reports Bloomberg News regarding the possibility of Assange receiving overdue medical attention. Her Majesty's Prison in Belmarsh has been used to detain high-profile national security prisoners indefinitely without charge under the Anti-Terrorism, Crime, and Security Act of 2001, passed 6 weeks after 9/11. So like the Patriot, let's do things together, guys, Until the House of Lords ruled it violated the British Human Rights Act. Assange was found guilty on Thursday on skipping bail. On May 2nd, he's scheduled to participate in the court via video link on the U.S. extradition request. Assange is named now tops the alphabetical order of alphabetical roster of notables who have done time at Belmarsh who are still there. The list includes notorious gangsters, serial killers, and drug traffickers. Ronnie Biggs of the 1963 Great Train robbery was imprisoned there. Others are subject of a high-profile scandal, such as Richard Thomason, imprisoned for 6 months in 1997 after he gave a synopsis of a proposed book detailing his career with MI6 to an Australian publisher, Andy Coulson. A former press secretary to Prime Minister David Cameron, who was in prison for a few months for a phone hacking scandal that engulfed the news of the world while he was editor there. On the main stand on the inmate population are convicted terrorists Abu Hamza al-Marzi, an Egyptian cleric, was at Belmarsh until his extradition to the United States while he was serving in prison on 11 counts of terrorism. Ramza Mohammed, Makhtar Sabed Avram, and Yassin Hassan Omar will all be incarcerated for their roles in the 2005 attempt bombing of the London Underground. It could happen around July 7th. Andrew Caldry completed his sentence at Belmarsh, promoting the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant. Michael Abdelwahab and Michael Abdelwahab are identified as Islamic terrorists convicted of the murder of the British soldier Lee Rigby in London. Seems like Manchurian candidates here are higher guns, correct, huh? It's very interesting. There is a legitimate concern about how Assange will fare inside Belmarsh. A 2018 survey by HM Chief Inspector of Prisons found that 91% of the men they had problems when they arrived at Belmarsh, which was higher than other local prisons and more than at our last inspection, Mr. Bell, Business Insider reported. In 2009, the same prison authority have found extremely high amount of force used to control inmates at the prison. Detainees were unable to see the intelligence evidence against them. They are confined to the cells for up to 22 hours a day. Their solicitors have been entombed in concrete, BBC reported in 2004. Yeah, so you have some kids here have some fun, you know? And nothing wrong with that. The 2018 Chief Inspector's report that the prison contained a high security unit, HSU, within their already high security premises, which report described as a prison within the prison. Reports went on to that. The role of the high government unit, HSU, remained unclear. We are told that this was a high risk category A prisoners. But such men are held in the main location than other high security prisons, and we did not understand why the approach was different at Belmarsh. We know that the two men held were only standard risk category A prisoners, and that in December 2017, two men from the same prison had been held in the HSU segregation unit. The conditions and the regime in the HSU provided prisoners with an intense custodial experience in which they could exercise little self-determination, and we are considered that prisoners could be located there without any oversight process or redress. Describing the use of solitary confinement, the chief inspector's found conditions in the unit were reasonable, but some prisoners could not have a shower or exercise every day. Those could only be unlocked in the presence of several officers who were most affected. The report repeatedly described concerns that arose due to staff shortages and added in a separate section, we remained concerned about this use designated cells where men were held in prolonged solitary confinement of an impoverished regime. Individual accounts from former Belmarsh inmates published by Cage, an advocacy group against human rights abuses that occurred as a result of the war on terror, described their experiences. An anonymous prisoner who was later acquitted said the prison system is run in such a way as to humiliate and degrade the inmate as much as possible. The process, dehumanization, starts immediately. In the wake of Assange's imprisonment, Cage published a statement saying in part, the UK is doing the US's dirty work by persecuting a man who exposed war crimes. Yes, and all hail to the war on terror. God bless the police state. Mussolini would be proud. Just to give you guys an example. Vigils and protests in support of Assange were held outside the prison on April 14th and 15th. Last time Assange was held in a British prison in 2010, he said that he was given food containing metal objects that severely damaged a tooth. This was at London's HM prison Ranworth. The incident caused serious injury. He did not receive a proper medical treatment during the 6.5 years of his confinement in the Ecuadorian embassy. A medical report published by the WikiLeaks in 2015 describes Assange's version of the event. And of course, there's some clips and all that you should check out yourselves. This is unlawful. I'm not leaving. Uniformed British police officers, aided by what appeared to be plainclothes secret police, had entered the embassy on Thursday morning when the Ecuadorian ambassador indicated he was preparing to serve upon Mr. Assange's documentation, revoking his asylum attorney Jim Hines. Queen's counsel, who represented the U.S. government, told the court during Assange's bail speaking hearing. The Guardian quoted Hines as later telling the court that day, officers tried to introduce themselves and him to order to execute the arrest warrant before he barged past them. Attempting to return to his private room, He was eventually arrested at 10:15 a.m. He had resisted that arrest, claiming that this was unlawful, and he had to be restrained. Officers were struggling to handcuff him. They received assistance from other officers outside, and he was handcuffed, saying, "This is unlawful. I am not leaving." He was in fact lifted into the police van outside the embassy and taken to the West End Central Police Station. Assange was likely referring to the 1951 Convention on Refugees that forbids a nation that has granted someone asylum from returning that person to a country where the assailee is likely to be persecuted. Police then were filmed forcibly dragging the handcuffed, physically ill Assange from the steps of the embassy. During the arrest, Assange was seen holding a copy of Gore's Vidal, The History of the National Security State, and he shouted, "The UK must resist this. The UK must resist this." Interesting there indeed. So continue on here. Fear of U.S. treatment. In view of then CIA Director Mike Pompeo's comparison of WikiLeaks 46 minutes into the above video with Al-Qaeda while calling it a non-state hostile intelligence service, concerns are mounting in Assange's camp about the harsh treatment he may face by British if he's extradited U.S. authorities. In the hours following the arrest, Reuters reporter lawyers for Assange said he might risk torture and his life would be in danger if he were to be extradited to the United States. On the same day, human rights organizations and press freedom advocates argued against the persecution of the WikiLeaks founder. These groups included the ACLU, the Freedom of the Press Foundation, the Center for Investigative Journalism, Amnesty Ireland, Committee to Protect Journalists, Reporters Without Borders, Human Rights Watch, and the Center for Constitutional Rights, the National Union of Journalists, the Knight First Amendment Institute, and Digital Rights Watch. The Intercept Glenn Greenwald was quick to note the widespread mischaracterization of the charge against Assange as one of the hacking writing as a charging document and related materials indicated Assange may have attempted to help Chelsea Manning, a U.S. Army whistleblower known as Bradley Manning, use a different name to access classified material she was legally allowed to access at the time. In other words, Greenwald said Assange is charged with helping his source preserve anonymity, a common practice by investigative reporters. Oh, we can't. Oh, you're not going to tell us your sources? Yeah, you're the bad guy. That's what those parasites want. Orwellian scumbags. Excuse my language. All right, so says here Greenwald also points out this action had been on public record since 2011, but that U.S. authorities under the Obama administration refused to use it as a basis of prosecution due to the chill it could put on press freedom. But they arrested Chelsea Manning. UN visitor, the UN independent expert on the right of privacy, Joe Kanataki, issued a statement following Assange's arrest. "This will not stop my efforts to assess Mr. Assange's claim that his privacy has been violated." He was quoted by the United Nations News Service. All it means is that instead of visiting Mr. Assange and speaking to him at the embassy, I intend to visit him and speak to him wherever he may be detained. Shortly before Assange's expulsion, the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, Nils Melzer, expressed alarm at reports that an arrest was imminent. If extradited, Melzer said Assange could be exposed to a real risk of serious violations of his human rights, including his freedom of expression, and his right to a fair trial, and the prohibition of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Assange's supporters likewise fear for this treatment in Belmarsh. Matthew Ho, a senior leader with the Center for International Policy and a former Marine, visited Assange at the embassy. He worries about the mistreatment Assange might face in custody. He believes when they get into the hands on him, they will do things that will be criminal, it will be immoral, it will be torture. So he said during an online Unity 4J vigil held days before Assange's expulsion. The online vigils are hosted by Consortium News and have been held for over a year to maintain public awareness about Assange after Ecuador withdrew his internet access. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Chris Hedges, during a Unity 4J panel, offered his fear of what he believes will happen to Assange if he's extradited to the United States. That's what he has to say. He will have a hood over his head. He will be sacked. He'll be shackled and chained. He'll be put on a black flight. He'll be taken to the U.S., put into solitary confinement, which is a form of torture. It is how people break, and often break very quickly. He will be relentlessly interrogated. This will be all sorts of psychological techniques. It will be very hot in the cell and then very cold. And they will constantly wake him every few hours, so he will be sleep deprived. They will maybe even put him in a dry cell where there is no water, so he will have to ask for water in the bathroom, or his hand, or wash his hands. It just continues. Everyone has a breaking point, and they will attempt to psychologically destroy him. And we've seen with Guantanamo that several of these detainees, most of them who are just sold to the U.S. by warlords in Afghanistan and Pakistan, are emotionally crippled for life. It will be scientific torture. I used to cover the Stasi state in East Germany, and the joke in the Stasi state was that the Gestapo broke bones and the Stasi broke minds. And that's what they'll do. That's what will happen. I've seen it with Muslims who have been entrapped in the U.S. in the so-called terrorism plots, and by the time they shuffled into court, they are a zombie. Hedges at it. There will never be a veneer of legality. It will be the figment of law, but he will be treated like all of the people who have been disappeared into that system from around the world. Assange supporters outside Belmarsh prison. There's a video on that. Mikhail Sevilla, representative of the International Association of Democratic Lawyers of the United Nations, drew on Chelsea Mann's experience of torture in U.S. custody when raising concern that Assange may be likewise abused, writing via Twitter. It says here, Assange eventually extradition to the U.S. will expose him to a substantial risk of human rights violations. The likely treatment he would receive can easily be inferred from the unjust trial and detention of Chelsea Manning, who faced life in prison and was subject to torture. And you gotta give Ms. Voss credit on this. And one of the areas I tell folks, has Pandora's box been opened? Truth of the matter is, my friends, this is just an example of the war on the press. Anyone that criticizes government is considered the enemy of the state. This is just an example of what's been going on. But Mr. Assange is a household name. Things can happen. And he has released a lot of files this past weekend. You can look it up. I posted on freedomoutpost.com. Look that up. Very interesting stuff. Actually, someone from the other social media sites shared that link with me as well, and I thank them for that. So this is why I say, my friends, a war on terror is a conflagration against ourselves as very free-thinking individual out there. They want us to be numbered, hoard, and branded. We're supposed to be liberty-minded individuals, have natural-born rights guaranteed by our Creator. I don't care if you believe in God or not. It doesn't mean a confounded thing to me. Those are the principles on our Declaration of Independence of the United States. I don't just say we don't have it. Every beautiful individual on this planet has that gift. So what are you going to do? Be dumb, stagnant, happy, or are you going to be proactive when it comes to freedom, liberty, natural-born rights, countering tyranny, by all means necessary? One thing about the information war, they were wigging out. This is one of the reasons why, my view, throw him in there, get him extradited, have us live in fear. I'm sorry, folks. 1960s is over. This is a new age. Mark my words, to the deep state, the order. You are going to go down, at least when that time comes. Not all millennials are a bunch of zombies or one-dimensional fools. Even my generation had a bunch of her conformists too. It's nothing new, friends. You're going to have the doubtful Thomases of the world. Everyone's going to be a bunch of goody two-shoes, be like doormats to the system. You have to avoid those individuals, because they won't trap you and they can care less. Vigilance is the key to liberty. This is why we got to keep going. Pursue. Share information. You share my show. Hey, I'm not making money. I have a Patreon account. If you wanna donate, that'd be awesome. I love it. But that's just how it goes. He's just another political prisoner. And we have to say hell no to anyone like Julian Assange and every freedom lover sovereign thinker that had the courage to counter tyranny, and they're serving time for it. I'm going to hit this next one here, Ron Paul, which this the only person I supported when he ran for president. I rallied with him. Everyone else could care less. But check this out. This is what he has to say about Julian Assange, political prisoner. Last week, arrest of WikiLeaks publisher Julian Assange by the British government on U.S. extradition order is an attack on all of us. It's an attack on the U.S. Constitution. It's an attack on the free speech. It's an attack of free press. It's an attack on free speech. It's an attack on our right to know what our government is doing with our money in our name. Julian Assange is every bit much of a political prisoner as was Cardinal Manzenzi in Hungary or Nelson Mandela in South Africa. Which I have my disagreements with Mandela. Okay, he's a little bit of a pro-establishment, but I'm not going to argue about that. So I'll continue on here. They say so many more were in prison because they told the truth about the government. Repressive governments did not want their citizens to know what they're up to, so they insist on controlling the media. We are taught at the same time that we have a free press whose job is to uncover the corruption in our system so that we can demand our political leaders to make some changes or face unemployment. That, we are told, is what makes us different from the totalitarian. The rest of Assange is a canary in the coal mine to warn us that something is very wrong with our system. What's wrong? The U.S. mainstream media always seems to do the bidding of the U.S. government. This is why they rushed to confirm Washington's claim that Assange's indictment was not in any way about journalism. It's all about hacking government computers. As the New York Times said in an editorial sounding like a mouthpiece for the U.S. government, Julian Assange committed an indisputable crime. See, I like how they say it. An indisputable crime. He is guilty till proven innocent. That's what we say. A person like that going, yes, I am an Uncle Tom to the system, a bend over Bob to the New World Order. Don't get mad, folks. Get inspired. See, you got these vultures like them, psychic vampires in these institutions. Now, I'll continue on here. As an actual journalist, Glenn Greenwald wrote last week, when Julian Assange did in 2010, for which he is facing extradition to the U.S., is no different from what the New York Times and other journalists do every day. He attempted to help Chelsea Manning shield his identity as he blew the whistle on U.S. government crimes to a publisher. The information in question included a video showing the U.S. personnel participating in and cheering on the murder of Iraqi civilians. Why is it criminal for us to know this? It's called exceptionalism. Many people like that, right? The difference is what Assange and Manning did embarrassed the U.S. government, which was lying to us that was liberating Iraq and Afghanistan, where it was actually doing the opposite. Mainstream journalists published leaks to help bolster the neocon or other vested narratives of the different factions of the U.S. government. That's why the U.S. media wants to see Assange in prison, or worse, he upset their apple cart. Oh my God, we gotta get rid of him because we're losing subscribers. The lesson is clear. When you bolster the government's narrative, you are a brave journalist. When you expose corruption in government, you are a criminal. Do we really want to live in a country where it's illegal to learn that our government is engaged in criminal acts? I thought we had an obligation as engaged citizenry to hold our government accountable. As long as Julian Assange is in prison, we're all in prison. When the government has the power to tell us what we're allowed to see, hear, and know, we no longer live in a free society. Julian Assange will be extradited to the U.S., and he will have dozens of charges piled on. They want him to disappear so the next Assange will think twice before informing us of our government's crimes. Are we going to let them steal our freedom? I say no way in hell, folks. Yeah, I'm ticked off. I'm infuriated. This is just an example. Gotta be inspired. Enhance yourselves. We got a great gift. Every single one of you are listening to this show and beyond. Don't let these tyrannical vultures or scumbags tell you any different. They're no more than mind-controlled saps that belly up for their masters. The war on the press continues, like everything else. The war on the Bill of Rights culture, the war on natural-born rights. What they're doing is negated, null and void, and anyone that's participating in this matter should be charged for treason. Yes, I can say that. Truth is treason in an empire of lies, when Ron Paul says. And I do support that quote. One thing about our obligations, folks. A little rebellion now and then is good. I know I repeat that multiple times, but Jefferson was spot on. You don't want us to be dumb, stagnant, and happy and go, I'm a real American, I'll bend over for the establishment. No. Not at all. So what you gonna do? Live in the cave or enhance your humanity? Enhance your natural-born rights, spreading the message of love, wisdom, principle. I'm doing it for a long time, folks. And people claim to be an expert. I'm humbled about it. I don't even go there. Everyone can make a difference. Julian Assange did. Schaefer Cox, etc. And that definitely add a link here about the yearofjubilee.com. It's under the Gideon's Army. American prisoners, political prisoners. Come to know these things. And anyone that's involved in these tyrannical acts, like I said before, should be charged for treason. Prove me wrong if you dare. I care less. Alright, next one here. Gonna be interesting little doozy. This one here is from World Tribune. Came out today. It says here, Crown Heights Jews question the honorary doctorate for Al Sharpton. As it reads here, members of the Jewish community in Brooklyn's Crown Heights said a local college plans to award an honorary doctorate for Al Sharpton is deeply offensive. I know. Every time I hear his voice, I'd rather go to the bathroom. I find that more inspiring. I'll continue on here. Medgar Evers College, part of the City University of New York system, or CUNY, stated that the doctorate would be given to Sharpton due to his unwavering commitment to racial, educational, and socioeconomic equity. The local Jewish community was quick to point out Sharpton's central role in inciting the infamous 1991 Crown Heights riots. Sharpton played a lead role in inciting the modern-day blood libel against the Jewish community of Crown Heights. Ravkov Berman, founder of the Jewish Future Alliance based in Crown Heights, told Al Jamainer the 1991 riots, which lasted for 4 days, began after a motorcade carrying Lubavitcher Rabbi Maximum Mendel Chernazarin struck and killed a young African-American child named Gavin Cato. Soon after, 29-year-old Jaffa student Yakel Rosenbaum was stabbed and beaten to death by an African-American mob shouting, "Kill the Jew." How nice. Sharpton spoke at rallies and organized a march of hundreds through the Hasidic section of Crown Heights, chanting "No justice, no peace." In his eulogy for Cato, Sharpton referred to diamond merchants and said Cato was killed by a social accident of apartheid. He should what a race-baiting Uncle Tom he is, right? Business exhibition. He's no role model, folks. Okay, in the African American community, he'll never be half a man, or never be a man like Reverend Jonas Clark. Okay, one of the innovators of the Battle of Lexington happened April 19th, 1775, or Dr. Walter Williams, very intelligent man. I praise him dearly, but not this clown. Yeah, Yaakov Rosenbaum's brother Norman told the New York Post, "This is not a person you honor. Within the last 27 years, he hasn't changed. The same character is there. I think he's a fraud and a charlatan whose actions over the years speak for themselves, and they're not good actions." Yeah, there's even a claim, too. He's an FBI informant. I bend over Bob and proud, allegedly. I'll continue on here. Rabbi Eli Cohen, executive order of the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council, said the award would undo years of efforts to rebuild relations between the local communities. For more than 25 years, we have worked closely with Medgar Evers and others to bring the community together, he told the Algae Miner. The idea of college in Crown Heights honoring a man who incited anti-Semitic violence here goes against everything we have accomplished. Honorary decorators should be rewarded to individuals who are role models for the students of today. Cohen added, Sharpton does not fit that role. He has not even expressed true regret for his actions. You know, I can't blame him. He is one big habitual putz, yeah? I'm sorry, I'm just being like, it's like, you know, look, I followed this man for 30 years. I am not impressed, okay? In 1995, Sharpton rallied against a local Jewish business owner called Freddy's Fashion Mart, calling the owner a white interloper. Following this, an African-American gunman opened fire in the store and set a flame, killing 7. Sharpton has since expressed regret for his statement about Freddy's Fashion Mart, but has never apologized for his role in the Crown Heights riots. He traumatized my generation and never apologized to his victims, Berman said. It is inexcusable and shamefully low to honor him in the same neighborhood where he incited the violence. According to the New York Post, if the Medgar Evers proposal passes CUNY's Committee on Academic Policy Programs and Research, it will go before the full CUNY board next month. I say shoot this clown down. Nothing more than a pathetic stooge. If you're going to bring him, if you're going to praise him, you should praise David Duke, Louis Farrakhan, or Tom Metzger, okay? Just to give you guys some examples. And David, as I always say, David Duke, and Richard Spencer. Bring all the clowns in there, okay? Oh, yeah, bring all the clowns in here. Yeah, it'd be great. How weak and pathetic that this is, okay? So, one thing I know for sure, like I said, he's no Dr. Walter Williams. That's it. If you want to study a man with honor and wisdom that has homage, that's the people you look up to, not some race-baiting clown. That him and Morris Dees may have maybe secret lovers for all we know, take showers together, but wear his and his towels. Something to think about. Birds of a feather flock together, right? But you know what? I say to hell with this clown. We should all be laughing at him. I don't know if he still has this stupid TV show. I don't even watch it. Every time I do, I start laughing. It's like Comedy Central. I don't need to watch TV, watch a comedy show. I just watch him. He's a terrible comedian. That's how pathetic these people are. You know, so, hey, shoot him down. He's a clown. He needs to repent in full if he wants to be authentic, which I say in my eyes, my realm, is not going to go. So, another bad vibe indeed. All right, I'll do one more here. This is by Mr. Bob Livingston. And this one's titled, Democracy Does Not Equal Liberty. This is what Mr. Livingston has to say. There's a political and subversive word that has been created and is promoted by the establishment as a major key to formulate and channel the public mind. The word has more than saturated the public conscience. It's uttered hundreds of times on political talk shows, in the halls of government. Very intellectual people spout this word, assuming it means freedom and liberty. But this word has a dark and hidden meaning. It is covered and disguised for fascism and socialism and tyranny. It's a workhorse for the American propaganda ministry. It is taught in schools, government indoctrination centers as a source of all freedoms. Politicians love to hear and use it. Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels use the word is democracy. And that's right, folks. Here, let me repeat it again. Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels used it. The word is democracy. Mainstream Democrats and government propaganda media political pundits are clamoring for the end of the Electoral College. Why? Democracy. This is not new. They say that the Electoral College is an affront to freedom because it prevents democracy. Yeah, I could take a dump. I find that more liberating than the word democracy, okay? After all, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but the Electoral College gave us what they have determined is an abomination of a president in Donald Trump. I hate that man so much. If he's forced, I'm going to have a scowl. Trump's-iety, you know? Electors had not even yet met to cast the Electoral College votes for Trump in December 2016 before Senator Barbara Boxer had introduced a bill to abolish the EC. Yes, a great gyno who represents the Synagogue of Satan, Barbara Boxer. Boxer's bill was followed by the predictable propaganda from government propaganda organs, claiming it is time to do away with the archaic EC and become a real democracy. As we approach another presidential election, calls for democracy in elections have only grown louder. Who let the cows out? Moo, 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 moo. Exactly. In April, leading Democratic senators took a swipe at the EC, introducing the bill to abolish it. Most of the leading contenders for the Democratic presidential nomination support the bill. Why? Because they're a bunch of Uncle Toms and Aunt Jemimas to the establishment. Absolutely. Even people like Kamala Harris, who was proudly funded by a Nazi collaborator named George Soros. Abolishing it this way will be long shot, as it will have to happen via constitutional amendment. The process for amending the Constitution through Congress requires approval by 2/3 of both houses of Congress, plus ratification by 3/4 of the states. But there is an attempt to work around it underway. Calling for the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. A growing number of blue states have signed on the process by which the electoral votes will go to the presidential candidate that wins the national popular vote, regardless of how their state voted. Yes, could we say federal overreach? Feathers Papers 46. So far, 14 states and District of Columbia have signed on. They represent 189 electoral votes, just 81 short of the 270 needed for election. Many leftists applaud this movement, not recognizing or caring or perhaps even embracing that it will disenfranchise them if their states happen to vote one way while the popular vote goes another. Proponents of eliminating the EC claims it will make the U.S. more democratic, and therein lies the rub. Democracy is an historic belief system that manipulates the people in such a way that all power flows to the state. And with pure dictatorship, power flows from the top down, not the bottom up. Democracy implies freedom in the public's mind, while power and wealth is constantly channeled to the federal government. Human liberty is progressively crushed under democracy. God bless centralizations. Karl Marx would be proud. Democracy is a political word that was embraced by all political parties and all politicians under many labels in every country of the modern world. It is covered in the facade for communism, socialism, fascism, for class warfare, for the exploitation and manipulation of minorities against stability, cultural heritage, and private property. By the way, communism, socialism, and fascism are all equal. Don't be fooled by claims that one is right-wing and another is a left-wing philosophy. They all transfer power to the state. The difference is simply semantics. Well, when politicians utter the word democracy, they are using the code word that signifies a total allegiance to the state. They are using mass hypnosis to manipulate the people against human liberty. The U.S. was founded as a republic. When they asked what type of government they had created, Benjamin Franklin replied, "A republic if you can keep it." The founding fathers feared two things above all else: a democracy and an overtly powerful executive. The Electoral College was designed to prevent both. For a good history of the Electoral College and its evolution over the years, read The Origins of the Electoral College by Randall G. Holcomb. Article 2, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution, the founders established a method of electing a president with electors from each state, not the people. The number of electors being equal to the state congressional delegations casting their votes for the president. The candidate getting a majority of electoral votes would be named president. If no candidate received a majority, the House of Representatives would select the president from the top 3 vote getters. The people played little part in early presidential elections. Instead, presidents prior to 1828 were selected by political elites. The election process has drifted far from what the founders intended. So the Electoral College is essential for preventing the U.S. from becoming a democracy with the president elected by popular vote. The democracies are mob rule or groupism. Democracy is an anathema to individual liberty. Democracy is a tyranny with a pretty face. Without the Electoral College, this presidential candidate would merely have to win a big majority of the population in 5 or 6 of the most populous states to carry the election. It says, California, New York, Texas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida. As it is, Democrats hold a divisive advantage in electoral college math because they advocate for socialism. Minorities love socialism, and minorities tend to congregate in the urban areas. In the Facebook post, the Uncle Sam's Misguided Children group explained this way: electoral college is a safety net so that everyone votes counts. There are 3,141 counties in the United States. Trump won 3,084 of them. Clinton won 57. 2. There are 62 counties in New York State. Trump won 46 of them. Clinton won 16. Clinton won the popular vote by approximately 1.5 million votes. 4. In the 5 counties that encompass New York City: Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Richmond, and Queens, which Richmond is Staten Island, okay? Clinton received well over 2 million more votes than Trump. Clinton only won 4 of these counties. Trump won Richmond. Therefore, these 5 counties alone more than accounted for Clinton winning the popular vote of the entire country. 5. These 5 counties comprise 319 square miles. The United States is comprised with 3,797,000 square miles. When you have a country that encompasses almost 4 million square miles of territory, it would be ludicrous to even suggest that the vote of those who inhabit a mere 319 square miles should dictate the outcome of a national election. Largely densely populated Democrat cities, New York City, Chicago, LA, etc., don't and shouldn't speak for the rest of the country. Thank you very much. I agree with that too. This is why you have an electoral college. And even if democracy did equal freedom, how is a presidential election based on the outcome of the vote of 5 New York counties in any way democracy? Anyone seeking human liberty, privacy, and private property under the mental deception of democracy is under the greatest illusion. Let us purge our minds of this seductive appeal. The spiritual despotism is stolen our conscience, our soul, and our honor. It is our legacy to future generations to whom we are passing on our slavery. Shame could have no greater victory. Democracy is a faith, a state religion, a state of mind. It is a progressive destruction of the person. The individual is covered and masked with benevolence, philanthropy, and brotherhood. Democracy is the opposite of the common belief. It is a democratic tyranny, a camouflage for despotism. Its goal is nothing less than universal slavery. If people imagine that they are free, all sorts of crimes by the political system can be opposed without protest upon the people. It is an invisible armed guard. The mental democracy is a psychological weapon of the state that motivates the people to obey the system and to love the state. As George Orwell wrote in his book, 1984, the people come to love Big Brother, the state. The elimination of the Electoral College will not usher in democracy. It will usher in the complete end of personal freedom and liberty. Remember that Hitler said Germany was a democracy in the best sense of the word. Interesting indeed. You gotta say that, my friends. The past is today's greatest teacher. And to all you folks in the United States that this is what democracy looks like, read the Constitution and find the word democracy in there. Please. If so, send it to me. After that, shut up. Because you have no merit. The Republic is a rule of law. No ends, ifs, or buts. The Bill of Rights, free speech, is supposed to defend the minority over the majority. That's what the Bill of Rights is. Government keep out. That's what a republic's about. Don't tell me we need to be a democracy. It's like saying, I want to be a slave to the state. I want to be their little squire. I don't believe that. And you shouldn't either. And that is it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, maybe something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. Furthermore, I'll add all the footnotes on my Spreaker page. You can check it out. All right, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. But always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.